Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Work Well podcast. This episode is brought to you in partnership with AJ Products, who are leading the way in ergonomic and active workplace furniture solutions at ajproducts.ie. Today on the Work Well podcast, I'm delighted to welcome Elbha Purcell. Elbha is Director of Dietetics and Wellbeing for Aramark Northern Europe. Elbha and her team are responsible for the provision of dietetic support to all Aramark healthcare units across Ireland and the UK, along with the creation and delivery of health and wellness programs across the region. So Elbha has been involved in some really interesting projects of late, including, I've had firsthand experience of her and Aramark's involvement in the postgrad in workplace wellness at Trinity, and creating an online program for the Work Well Institute, and that's called Feeding Your Potential. So all of which we'll be discussing and more in my conversation with Elbha Purcell. Elbha, hello and welcome to the Work Well podcast.
Thanks, Brian. Delighted to be here.
Well, Happy New Year, first of all. How are you getting on?
Well, same to you, and getting on very well, thanks. Just back into the swing of things, so very much looking forward to seeing what 2022 will bring for us all.
Yeah, I think it's always nice, isn't it, the start of a year, kind of a fresh start. Bring us up to speed, if you would, on your own background, on where you came from, and then maybe by way of that, kind of tell us what the plans are for 2022.
Yep. So as you said, my name is Elbha and I'm a dietitian. I've been qualified for the past 18 years. I know you might not think it to look at me, but it is 18 years, nearly 19. And I qualified in the UK, worked in the NHS in the clinical environment for about three and a half years. And then I got an opportunity to work over in the Middle East, in the Gulf, in Bahrain. Wow. So I initially went for 2 years, but quite liked the quality of life over there, so stayed for 6. Wow. It was great experience. It was, great mix of cultures. I was working for the oil company. They had their own private hospital there, so it was challenging. But you don't stay for 6 years unless you're enjoying it. So I certainly was. And I came back then to Ireland in 2013 and freelanced for a period of time as a dietitian. So had an opportunity to work with Aer Lingus, which was great, and a few schools just to support in their health and wellness initiatives, as well as having some of my own patients, my own clients, I should say. And then a job came up in Aramark in 2015. So I can't believe in January, so I'm 7 years there now. And I initially started as a dietitian for Ireland, and Aramark grew, and we realigned with Northern Europe. So I'm now heading up the team for Dietetics and Wellbeing for Aramark Northern Europe, which is great. And for those who might not know who Aramark are, it's a global company. We have a presence in 19 countries, and we are the leading food service and facilities provider here in Ireland.
Fantastic. Yeah, like excellent story there, kind of journey that you've been on. Was there a reason you studied in the UK? Was what you were looking to study, was that not available in Ireland at the time?
It was. There was only 25 places at the time as Kevin Street, and I didn't get it. So I had an opportunity, so to go to Edinburgh. So that's where I studied. I studied as a nutritionist first, and then went on and did a postgrad in dietetics, and then I stayed in the NHS, as I said, for that period of time. And then after that, so I was a long time out of Ireland, when I came back in 2013. But I'm delighted to be back.
Yeah. And well, Edinburgh is a lovely city. I say to imagine a lovely city to kind of to live in. I've only really been for a few weekends.
Yeah.
And I was actually going to ask you the question. I didn't want to open a can of worms, but nutritionist versus dietitian, is it just a level of qualification, or is there more to it than that?
I guess the best way to explain it is that dietitians tend to work more in the clinical environment. Okay. So we tend to support those, going through the required therapeutic diets. So we're all there for the right reason, nutritionists and dietitians, but we just tend to be found more working in the clinical space. Now, in saying that, I'm one of 3 food services dietitians in Ireland, so that is a new post, and it's an evolving post as well. So it's not fully clinical. It's a mixture of supporting health and wellness and healthcare.
Okay, very good, yeah. And is that so? The team then at Aramark is made up of a mix of dietitians and nutritionists. Is that right?
Yeah. So there's dietitians in Ireland, and we have nutritionists in the UK.
Okay, very good. Yeah,
great.
And tell me a little bit about it's challenging last couple of years, really 2 years now for a lot of organizations, for a lot of companies. Have you at Aramark been doing anything interesting to support, I guess, your clients and also your own colleagues, from a health and well-being perspective over the last period of time?
Yeah, no, it definitely has been challenging, and I think starting with our employees first, certainly at the start of lockdown, we have a mental health wellbeing working group, which I help lead. And one of our biggest focus was developing communication tools. So we've got 16,000 employees throughout Northern Europe. Within which only about a fifth have an Aramark email address. So it's just how do we share, supports and information with all the rest of our employees. So we developed digital wellness guides that could be shared via a web link. So we asked all our managers to cascade it down, be it through WhatsApp, whatever form of communication they were using. And these wellness guides were regional. So we created one for Northern Ireland, for Republic of Ireland, and for the UK, so that the information we were giving was relevant to the employees based around there. And it was information about our EAP programs, so our employee assistance programs. We shared resilience webinars, tips from working from home, working on the front line. Myself and my team got involved with giving the nutrition and activity tips. So just different pieces of information that we kind of updated on a fortnightly to monthly basis. So that was the first big focus, was to make sure we had a communication tool to get out to all our teams. And then we were realizing that, one of the big issues, and I know you've covered it, was addressing kind of loneliness and social isolation. So what we developed was the Take 15 Coffee playbook. And with that, we realized people aren't always comfortable in Zoom, or in the Teams space. So what we were providing, what we wanted to provide our managers was like simple tips, just to how to create, a get together with your teams. It wasn't work related. So we had activities in there, from quizzes to scavenger hunts to baking contests. So it's just something that we encourage our managers to do, ideally once a week, but at least once a month, just to try and keep that connectivity there. And the playbook went further afield, so our clients were able to use it as well. So it was just a simple piece that we put out there. Mm-hmm. We wanted to keep people moving as well. So I think even we were all a bit maybe guilty of maybe sitting down too much during the lockdown period. So we put a step challenge out there. It was initially for a week. The feedback and the interaction was so good that we kept it going for 3 weeks. And all we were doing was looking to see if Aramark could walk the breadth of Europe.
Yeah.
But we kept going, and we went all the way around and ended up in Hawaii. And because it was June, we stopped off there. But it's just simple ways to kind of get the team and your employees to engage. And the feedback has been very good on that step challenge. So it is something actually that we're going to be pushing out again in February of this year. Probably one of the proudest things that we developed is we launched our mental health champion program in May of 2021. So we launched 40 champions into the business. So our champions, very similar to mental health first aiders, they're there to signpost people to the appropriate tools, and also to listen, and obviously help break down that stigma associated with mental health. So we launched 40 initially, and then we have another 36 that are going through training at present. So it is growing, and we're delighted to see that. Now we have to see a full year's growth, but where it's going now, we're very happy with.
Fantastic. Yeah. And was that through Mental Health First Aid that you did that, or was it through a different organization?
We did it through HIT Connected Care. So we were literally about to start the workshops for our mental health champions in March 2020, and they were in person, and obviously it shut down. So then we had to find a virtual accredited version, and that's who we went with.
Very good.
They were excellent.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. And on the step challenge, do you remember, how did you, track the steps to Hawaii? Was somebody crunching a spreadsheet there, or did you have a particular app you were using? Because I've been asked this question before.
Well, I kept it simple because, again, this is not somewhere where I would have huge expertise, but I did a 360 forms. It just went out. I asked people to input their steps on a daily or weekly basis. and just calculated it up at the end of each week.
Right.
Hoped everybody was being truthful and honest, and that was it. It was just really, really simple, but I think it allowed everybody to get involved, because it was just a click. You didn't have to have an Aramark email address or anything like that to be involved. So
excellent. Yeah,
kept it simple and easy.
Cool. I have a spreadsheet with a tracker, if you like, that I might actually I'll share in the notes with this episode. It's a nice time of year to share that as well. And there is like a website, or certainly there used to be, where you can kind of input your home location, if you like, and you can set a target to walk to the moon and back, or something like that, if you're a particularly large organization. So again, I'll try and find that and I'll include it in the show notes, so you can track exactly where you're going to. But
I'd appreciate that. No, our February challenge that we're going to put forward is hopefully to get to the moon and back. But I kind of looked at the distance, and it might be a little bit too much. So I'm thinking the circumference again of the Earth, and we may go further afield. But yeah, I think Venus is our closest planet, so we might aim for that. Well,
it's a decent challenge anyway. We'll keep track. We'll see how you get on with that.
Thanks.
So the take 15, tell me a little bit more about that. So that's just to encourage colleagues to take those 15 minutes, just to wind down from work. Is it to join a call, coffee break kind of virtual session? Yeah.
Yeah, it can be a mixture of everything. Basically, it's Aramark's annual mental health campaign, and we relaunch it every October to coincide with World Mental Health Day, which is on the 10th of October, as I know you're aware. And it's in its sixth year, and the message is simple. It's really encouraging people to take 5, 10, 15 minutes away from their work or study environment, because these so-called booster breaks have been shown to reduce stress and anxiety, but also in turn increase productivity. So it's a very simple message, and I think the simplicity of the message is what's kept people going with it. And I'm delighted to say, from an Aramark perspective, it's actually gone global. It was launched in Canada in January of 21, and it was launched in the US in October of 21, and people have asked me why has it grown, and it's lovely that it's a Northern European initiative that has taken precedence over in the States, and I think it is just down to the simplicity of the message. We can all do it, and we all need to do it for our own mental well-being. Yeah, it's just taking that time out.
Fantastic. Yeah, and I think I'm right in saying the Aramark, large organization, lots of different, involved in lots of different industries, if you like. Though certainly the one I'm familiar with the most is, let's say, the food services in, I think, healthcare settings, but also in workplace settings. So I'm guessing over the last 2 years, you had one cohort who were at home and probably were not in the workplace, if you like, and then others that were very much probably busier than ever. Would that be right? So you had different cohorts you were trying to support.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And what the pandemic did for us, and when I'm talking about us, I mean myself and my health and wellness team, is we had the opportunity to go digital. So we created our own website and digital newsletter, so that we could get the message out to as many people as possible, regardless of their location. So it's a place where we could upload blogs, we could upload healthy recipes. I'm sure there's a banana bread recipe there. I think we all did it. But again, it's just some meet the expert sessions as well. So it was just kind of our well-being destination, and we were conscious we needed that because of, as you said, the working from home. Not everybody had access to their workplace to connect with the wellbeing program.
Very good. And something else you did, well, back in 2020, was you got involved in the PG Cert in workplace wellness. So at Trinity, you submitted a real world challenge, a real world wellbeing challenge that you were facing at Aramark, and a cohort of students then on the program kind of worked on that with you over a period of time. Could you tell us a little bit about the experience on that, and how that was received at Aramark?
Yeah, well, first, it was an absolutely fantastic experience. We really enjoyed it. Myself and my team, and the students that we were working with were superb. So it was great. And what they did really is they showed us new perspectives and helped us think a little bit outside the box. So I'm pleased to report that the feedback and insight that they did give, and obviously everything has been on hold for the last little while, we are using to relaunch and support our wellbeing and focus champions. So they're different from our mental health champions. They'll be supporting our health and wellness message throughout the Northern Europe. And they gave us some nice ideas around that, and a lovely group to work with. So it was a pleasure to be part of it.
that can often be something you miss, isn't it? When you've been looking at your own kind of challenges and whatever for so long, it's kind of hard to see the wood from the trees. But if you almost get an independent assessment, it can just point out a few things that you may have missed, or you mightn't have been too obvious to you because you've been so close to it.
Yeah, no, completely. I mean, one of the simple things they put out, we're obviously a very large organization, as we say, and we're our geography is quite large around Northern Europe. The way we're organized is there's regional managers for each area, but they were saying, do you have a champion associated with each manager? And that's not how we approached it, but that obviously makes the most sense, because then we're ensuring our message is getting out to each region. Whereas before we were just looking for volunteers, and we got some great volunteers, but it didn't always cover the whole geographical area that we needed to. So, it was simple stuff, but it was like, light bulb moment at the same time, that we just hadn't seen. So no, it was great.
Brilliant. That makes so much sense. Yeah, no, delighted to hear that great feedback.
Yeah.
And you've kind of gone on, again, to involve with the Workwell Institute. Now you've gone on to, you and the team have developed what I must say, I've gone through it myself, is a really excellent online program now. This time it's called Feeding Your Potential. It's an online program for, I guess for anyone really. Tell us a little bit about the program itself and how you came to put it together and the thinking behind it.
Yeah. So again, this was done in conjunction with my team. I need to call out Amanda and Maddie for supporting me with this. And it's Feeding Your Potential. So it's all about trying to show, how food can feed and fuel your performance, regardless of where you're working and whether you're at work or at play. And what we did is we kind of broke it down into 8 modules. Nutrition is a huge area, as I think we're all aware. And kind of just honed in on what we consider to be the key ones. So it's we provided an overview on the role of macronutrients and micronutrients, and maybe how to create that balance on your plate or around your mealtime. Healthy snacking ideas. I think particularly for shift work, it can be difficult maybe to kind of stay within the healthy range. So just giving some ideas and options was quite practical with some of the stuff that was provided. We looked at the importance of hydration, the importance of having a healthy diet for your mental well-being as well. Just simple guidance around label reading and portion control. And so they were delivered via a series of videos, and then we put a few activities at the end. So there's a few quizzes, and there's a lot of additional reading for those that have that interest. But it was an enjoyable process to put it together. And as I said, I hope people will find it of benefit.
I'm sure they will. I really enjoyed it. And we'll put the link in the show notes to the course. But I think I find nutrition fascinating. You'd think we would have, at this stage, understood or understand everything there is to know about nutrition, about food. I mean, over 50 years since we had people on the moon, but I think we're still kind of learning something every single day, every single year, aren't we, about nutrition? And I thought I knew quite a bit about it when I took the course. But there's always something new to learn. So it really reinforces maybe a few things I already knew and challenges a few assumptions then as well. So yeah, really enjoyed the course. It's really well put together. So I know it'll be of benefit to a lot of people.
That's great. Thank you.
And tell us, it's a nice time of year to be focusing on, I think, nutrition and healthy eating habits. Exercise, of course, is top of a lot of people's agenda at the moment as well, but nutrition too. Let's say for HR leaders, maybe looking to support their colleagues at this moment in time, but or just the individuals out there. Any simple advice for us, tackling the year, for fueling our working day? Anything we can be any simple tips or advice to get us started?
Yeah, I mean, going back even to what you said a bit earlier, we're still talking about and questioning nutrition. At its most basic, it is simple, and I think there's so much out there and some questionable information there, but you just need to keep it simple. The principles are the same. Variety and balance is key. So, I would definitely be recommending that we, push for our fruit and veggies. The ask is 7 a day. I think there's only a quarter of the population.
It's 7 now. It's 7 now, is it? 7. Just to confirm. Yeah. Okay. It's 7.
But we're not all reaching the 5 yet. So, to be honest, if 7 sounds a bit daunting, aim for the 5 and the 5, a portion is just what you hold in your hand. So it's, full orange, apple, banana, it's a handful of grapes. It's not a huge volume, and try and get it as varied as possible. And particularly in the season that we're in with colds and flus, etc., get our vitamins and minerals, and we get a large amount from our fruits and veg. So definitely be encouraging that. Don't be afraid of the carb. I think the poor carbohydrate gets a very bad reputation, but we would be encouraging that you go for that slow release carb. So that granary, nutty wholemeal kind of breads, pastas, etc. And having that within your meals. So again, and by having regular meals along with that, you are encouraging, stable blood sugars, which helps reduce craving and feelings of hunger, and actually encourages a positive mood. So, I think I know what I'm like when I get hungry. You don't want to be around me. So, by just having, a steady, regular meal pattern, and your lean proteins, but it isn't complicated nutrition. It's we should all enjoy our food. There's nothing that's forbidden, but some things you just want to have on a very occasional basis. And I'm guilty of maybe going a little overboard at Christmas, but we're allowed to have exactly, a few little breaks. But it's just simple variety, balance, and enjoy it, and hopefully find a love for it. And I think people can get very stressed and very emotive around food and wellness, but just break it down to its most basic, and it is simple to follow.
Is it a bit like exercise? You always hear people, find something you enjoy doing and stick with it.
Yeah.
Is it a bit like find a diet that works for you, as opposed to just listening to somebody else telling you what you should be eating? Find just a diet, a healthy pattern, a diet that works for you, and stick with that.
Yeah, and I think it's that word diet, isn't it? So people associate the word diet with restrictive behavior, but diet just means eating pattern, as you said there. So it's finding an eating pattern that works for you. It's a lifestyle. Now, you do need to ensure that, some people could say, well, I could, easily survive on, 5 or 6 cereal bars a day, and we know you're not getting the full balance. But, find something that works for you. But vary it, don't just stick to the same foods. You do need to kind of always experiment. I would encourage that. And there's so many cookbooks out there. There's our website, which I'll push a little bit further, with some great recipes, but we work with chefs all the time. So we have the opportunity to really trial and test some of these. So it is getting an eating pattern that works for you, but making sure there's enough variety within it.
Okay, yeah, very good. What do you think of the nutrition trackers that are out there? And the most famous one is probably MyFitnessPal. Can that be a benefit, or is it, I don't know, is it off-putting to some people, or does it depend?
It depends on the person. Yeah. I think it definitely. I use the tracker for my movement, and I'm addicted to it now. So if I don't close all my rings, it ruins my day. And that works for me. And I think some of us like to have, we would encourage food diaries and all of that, but this does that for you. So I think if you want that bit of accountability and it's all there and recorded, and you find that it works for you, then by all means, I would say continue with it.
Yeah, and it's a really, I've only experience of the one. It's a really impressive app. Like, there's not many foodstuffs that you can't, let's say, scan a barcode, or at least you can input into details yourself. And there's a little bit of heavy lifting involved in the beginning, but we probably eat roughly, the same kind of foods weekly. So once you get into it, it can be very impressive. It can be a help if you're of that mindset. Maybe if you're analytical, if you need to see the numbers and know exactly what you're consuming, it can be a huge help.
I agree. No, I absolutely agree. And everybody has different tools to help them. And it's about experimenting to find the ones that do work for you, and not let it consume you either, but that it is something that will work.
Exactly.
For your benefit.
Something that supports you. Yeah. And then, was any particular, again, food pyramid or that you would recommend? I don't know if, I know that the Irish food pyramid is pretty good, but I've always I love the Mediterranean food pyramid. I don't know, is it because the bottom rung of the pyramid is about movement and encouraging physical activity and eating with others? And that's actually on the food pyramid. So I just love that for starters. Yeah.
And it is a great one. And Mediterranean is definitely, I think, a focus about being out there. I think for me, the one that I would be just kind of generate towards a little bit more, and it's because I was trained in the UK, is the Eat Well plate. Because I think it's just easier to associate with the plate sometimes than a pyramid, because a plate is representative of maybe how we eat at least one meal a day, if not two. And I think it's easier for people to kind of look at the breakdown and kind of see if it resembles their own plate,
Sure.
as opposed to try and relate that to a pyramid. So that would be one that I would just find a little bit easier to work.
And I'm getting, can you relate that to the Harvard healthy eating plate? Is it the same idea?
Very similar. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We can link to that. So it's the UK equivalent then, is it?
Yes, I can send it to you. It's the Eat Well
Brilliant.
plate. Yeah, I'll send that.
Oh, yeah. Lovely. Yeah, we'll include that. Yeah, excellent. Great. And I think just I see it all the time now on Instagram. It pops up a lot of very. I know I should not be, following Instagram for my fitness or my nutrition advice, but I see a lot of very healthy people, and they're consuming energy drinks by the dozen. Where do you stand on energy drinks, saying 0-calorie energy drinks? I mean, they can't. They don't. Calorie wise, right? There's 0, but there's got to be something else going on there. What are we missing here?
Yeah, I'm not a fan. Surprise. And it goes down. I mean, I believe food and drink in whatever shape or form it comes in, it needs to be real. So, I prefer as unprocessed as possible.
Right.
And I think when you're looking at an ingredients label and it's a paragraph long, and it's like reading double Dutch, where you can't understand any of the ingredients and they make no sense. That would be one that I would be avoiding, because then what are you putting into your body? And the energy drinks definitely fall into that space. Look, it depends why people are trying to, why they would be. I think people need to question themselves as to what the purpose is behind consuming them. We know that if you keep yourself hydrated, and that's, water is a great source, but you can obviously use your teas and coffees and they can all add into it. But if as long as you keep yourself hydrated, you will have that energy boost, your concentration levels, your brain, everything will work as it should. The energy drinks, the caffeine content, all of that, all the additives and whatever that they contain, I would be running away from.
Very good. I think that's great advice. So something I kind of keep an eye out for myself, actually, when I'm buying the porridge oats, look at the ingredients. 100% whole grain oats. And that's the only ingredient. Or even the peanut butter. Now, I know you need to go easy on the peanut butter, but see, that's 100% peanuts. That's what I'm looking for in my, in the peanut butter as well. I think the less amount of ingredients, the better. No,
100%. I mean, I struggle with my son, his yogurts, like trying to find a decent yogurt for children. Like, I mean, I don't know if you've looked at the food ads, and your daughter probably is the same, and it's sugar, and there's so there's about 2 or 3 that are there, and it is reading the label, and they say no added sugar, and there'll be banana in it or whatever, which is great. They're getting it from the fruit sugars, but there's very few of them on the market. And I think just being a bit more conscious of what we're putting into our bodies. It takes a bit more time when you're shopping, if you're not sure of a product, but once you get into the swing of it, it becomes second nature, and it's definitely a tool I use.
Excellent. Yeah. And actually that's where the online nutrition tracker can come in as well, because that actually gives you a detailed breakdown of the ingredients and the percentages of the macros and even the micros then as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I think that's so there's a lot of things people need to consider when they're looking at a label. So it's not just the calories, because what does a calorie really indicate? It's all the content behind it. So what are the ingredients in? Look at the saturated fat content, the sugar content, and then make your decision based on that. So calories alone won't indicate. And I think the more time you take just reading the back of the label, the more informed you will be before you purchase.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very well said. Listen, Elbha, you've clearly got your busy work schedule, home schedule. Are you, or how do you manage to kind of dedicate time to your own well-being?
Well, the one positive that from the pandemic that came my way is that I got back into running.
Oh, fantastic.
So I enjoy it. I do it in the morning. Can't say it's as easy now in the dark mornings and the cold mornings, but that's my time. So when I'm up and out is my thinking time for the day ahead. So I love that and relish it and hate when I have to miss it. And the other thing is I have a 4-year-old, as I mentioned, so he's in daycare, so it closes at 6. So I have to finish at 6, and then obviously the other job starts. But no, so I try to kind of maintain that work home life balance and do my best to be as disciplined not to switch the laptop on a bit later on. So so my time is in the morning, and then obviously then in the evening time spending time with him and the play and all the rest that comes from there.
Lovely. Yeah. And in terms of the running, are you planning on, competing in a race, or is it kind of just
yeah, I mean it's not a huge leap, but I enjoy it. I'm kind of competing with myself in my own time, because I'm tracking it, and so for now that's it. There's a running club in the area, so when it gets a bit brighter, it's in the evenings. I'll be joining that, and again it's something that I kind of had dismissed prior to the lockdown, and it's something I will not be giving up again. So
fantastic. It's like anything. It's a nice habit to get into, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just and especially if you can find like a little community like you're talking about there, or I don't know if you're close to a park run. The park runs are excellent. Just it's kind of keep you honest. It's every Saturday morning at half 9. It's just a nice kind of little routine and habit to get into.
And no, it's brilliant, and it's a great social piece as well. And it's meeting with different people outside of the workday. So no, it's fantastic.
Yeah, and of course getting you outdoors as well.
Yeah.
Which, Yeah. Listen, Elbha, you've been so generous with your time. I've really enjoyed our conversation. Where can people go to find out more about you and your work with Aramark?
So I'm on LinkedIn, and the other place I think might be worth checking out is our website. So it's yourwellbeinginfocus.com. I can give you the link. So on that there's an intro to the team, and then as I said, all our health and wellness content is there. We, as I said, just launched it recently enough, but it's a tool we're very happy with. So people can check us out on there or again on LinkedIn.
Brilliant. We will share that link and all the other links, including the Feeding Your Potential link as well, which I know is again great contributions from you and your entire team there. So we'll share all those links. Elbha, listen, thanks so much for your time today, and listen, all the best for 2022.
That's great. Thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Hi, everyone. It's Brian here again. A big thank you for listening right to the end of this episode of the Work Well podcast. This podcast has been brought to you with thanks to our partners, AJ Products, who are leading the way in ergonomic and active workplace furniture solutions at ajproducts.ie. Original music that you're hearing right now was composed by my friend Greg Clifford. You can check out the website workwellpodcast.com, where you can access show notes for each episode and also find all our previous episodes. I would love if you could head over to iTunes or Google Play or wherever you get your podcasts to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. A reminder, you can head to workwellinstitute.org to check out the education programs that we have on offer. You're welcome to share this episode with your friends and colleagues so they too can discover and benefit from the content. And finally, if you have any suggestions for future topics you'd like to hear in the show, you can email me directly at brian@workwellpodcast.com. Remember to work well, stay safe, and I'll see you on the next episode.